is Moss from Investor Partner Group coming in live today in relation to how to pick. If you want to buy something and it's not a forever home, then do not. I have rented for a very, very long time. And for people who know me and understand the culture that I'm coming from, owning a house to live in is a big thing. And so if you don't hold a house to live in, you are almost cutting your cultural ties and you're literally looked down upon. And so that book, Homeless Millionaire, basically talks about a lot of these things and how rent vesting can assist you in channeling you on putting your portfolio on steroids and making a person successful in their property investment journey. Now, let me share this story with you. I still remember there was this one time where an aunt of mine came to my place, and we had a small get together and a small party. And she asked my wife, "Are you guys renting? You're not. No, this is not your place." And I could see that my wife was super embarrassed answering that question. Now, while she was leaving the party, she made the prayer and she said, "Hey, may Allah give you enough money to buy your own home." And I could see my wife being almost teary. And here I was in the background thinking, like, bloody hell, if I could show her my balance sheet as to what I'm worth today, she would probably ask, my son's hand to marry her granddaughter when they grow up, So that is the real tension that you are distancing yourself from, especially, where I was versus where I am now managing, or owning 16 million worth of projects. So I could swear that a lot of millionaires in property game, they don't realize actually that they are millionaires because they're in so much debt, and this continuous effort and this feeling of stuck basically keeps them there. It's only when they start becoming a bit more proactive and start thinking more strategically is when they realize that there is a lot of buffer that they can play with, and there are ways to unlock equity that no one has ever showed them before. Now, so owning my own house was actually a lot of fun too. I still remember moving back to Melbourne from Sydney. I've lived in Sydney for 3.5 years, and I moved back to Melbourne around 2017. So after 17 years of hardcore investing, I actually bought a house to live in. Now, I was driving down the street. I still remember it was one of those pockets where my kids were about to go to school. And this old house, old scruffy house with good bones. And I asked the agent to look at the floor plan. The house was super, super, super smelly. And so you have to literally hold your breath as you're walking through the house. So I did a quick walkthrough of the house, came back out, and I asked the agent, what is the asking on the property? And he said $580,000. I made a small offer on a small piece of paper to him. He looked at the offer. He read it out loud, $490,000. He laughed at me and literally asked me to show off. 2 days later, he calls me saying that the house on the same street has sold, another house has sold for about $570,000. Now, could I make a better offer? I made a final walkaway offer at $520,000, and another 3 days later, I ended up acquiring that property. Now, I haven't told anyone that I've bought this property. I took my parents, my wife, my kids to show them the property. That's what I always do. And their literal words were, who's going to live in this dump? Now, I told them that I'm going to flip this property. The median suburb price at that property in that market right then was around $680,000. So there was a lot of meat that I could play with. And so, I brought my contractors in, spent about 1 month and $40,000, got the house revalued in literally 2 months' time at about $680,000. Now, as I was about to stage the house to flip it, I thought I'll show it to my family again. So I took my wife and my parents there to show them the house, and now I can't get them out of there because they fall in love with the house. The house present valuation is sitting close to $1 million. So I always say to people, find the houses in the areas which are old and where the markets are matured and super gentrified. So there's not a lot of newer, brand new stock coming in those areas. So if you find an old house, make it bigger, change the configuration, you can charge a lot more for that house. Now, what people don't understand is this. When people are buying properties, they don't have $300,000, $400,000 money for renovation. So, and they don't have the time to go through that exercise of renovation. So They would not buy a house for $600,000, spend $200,000 to get $1 million valuation, but they would still buy $1 million house in that same suburb because they have $200,000, which is enough for their deposit. Now, this is the game of solving problems. So property investing is all about solving problems. That's how I see it. And so the bigger problems you solve, the more money you can charge.